Hi guys, welcome to Explain 10. Today we're going to be looking at the XPassenger plugin. So we're sitting at gate 51 at Gatwick, and we're going to be flying to Paris today. So we're in a British Airways Boeing 787. You will notice when the announcements are playing from XPassenger, it does mention a Qantas 737. They are the only voice pack available at the moment. Hopefully more will come out, but for the minute we have to put up with it saying Qantas 737. Not the end of the world. So, right, what we're going to do first is get some power into the aeroplane. So, we'll turn on the hydraulics, the fuel, the igniters, all the electrical systems, the avionics, and then start up the APU. There we go. And now we'll put our lights on, so landing lights on, taxi, strobe, beacon and nav. We can arm the cargo fire protection and then put on the air conditioning. Okay, so that's everything for now. So we'll close the overhead panel down. And I'm now just going to program our FMS with our flight. So we're going to head off to the fix at Drake. Then the fix at Sitet, which is S-I-T-E-T. And the next one is the VOR at Delta Victor Lima. And then the airport, which is Lima, Foxtrot, Papa, Golf. Paris Shoulder Golf. There we go. So that's our route programmed into there. So our next thing will be to set our radio frequencies. So we'll set the COM1 frequency to 121.95. There we go. So that is Gatwick clearance, who will clear our flight plan. So I'm going to get them to do that. So let's file the flight plan. Okay, so EGKK is London Gatwick. We're going to fly at 15,000 feet. A bit low for a 787, but for the purposes of the video, that's fine. So let's go to that. We're going Lima, Foxtrot, Papa, Golf. And we're going to go via Drake, Sitet, and the Derville VOR. So there you go, that's programmed. So we'll file that. And now we'll get them to clear the flight plan.
787, cleared IFR to Lima, Foxtrot, Papa, Golf, as filed. Maintain 15,000, squawk 4700.
Cleared IFR to Lima, Foxtrot, Papa, Golf, as filed. Maintain 15,000, squawk 4700,
Okay, so that's all fine. So we're now going to tune to the ground frequency, which we will need in a minute or two to get taxi. But now let's go to the plugins and the XPassenger plugin. And the first thing I need to do is go to Flight Ops. Okay, so the first thing we need in here is a flight number. So I'm going to give it BAW787. Okay, I'm going to put the number of passengers as 300. And we're going to go from Gatwick to Paris Shoulder Goal. It's going to be an IFR flight via Drake, Sitet, Derville. Okay, there we go. So we hit start offline flight, and you'll see we have a score of 70% so far. So let's go back to the XPassenger plugin again and choose show status. And you'll see there's three options here. We have before takeoff, during flight and landing. And obviously we want before takeoff. So the first thing we will do is welcome the passengers.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this Qantas flight. It is a requirement you are familiar with the safety equipment carried on this aircraft. Please watch the nearest video screen or the cabin crew for this safety demonstration.
Okay, so he mentioned a Qantas flight, and in the next announcement they mentioned Qantas 737. So while we're going to play that, I'm just going to set our autopilot to GPS, the source, and put it onto ARM. I'll play the safety announcement, and while it's doing that, I'll program the autopilot settings a bit more, so speed and that sort of thing. So let's hit that and get that safety announcement done.
Welcome aboard. Today you're flying on a Qantas Boeing 737. Subtly, every aeroplane is different. That's why you need to watch this demonstration. Having your seatbelt done up low and tight is absolutely essential during takeoff, landing, and whenever the seatbelt sign is on. It is a Qantas requirement that you keep your seatbelt on at all other times whilst seated. Do your seatbelt up by putting the clasp in the buckle and tighten by pulling the strap. Every time you fly, you are likely to be sitting in a different seat. That means that the escape route to the nearest exit is different for every flight. Look where the cabin crew are pointing and work out where your nearest exit is. The crew will also point out the lights that indicate a path to the exit. Finally, smoking is a fire hazard and is not permitted anywhere on this aircraft. If you're not sure about anything we've told you, check the safety card in your seat pocket or contact the cabin crew. At Qantas, your safety is our priority. Please enjoy the flight.
Okay, so we can now menu up and then go for during flight, which is the next thing we'll need on that. So the next thing we need to do is push back off the stand and then start our engines up before we request taxi. So I'm going to go to another plugin called Ground Services and request pushback. And I'm not going to go 80 metres, 25 metres will do. We want it to rotate 90 degrees, but we don't want the nose going right, we want the nose going left, because that's the direction we need to point. So let's request that. And if I go outside, you will see the pushback truck is arriving. It's a bit strange that there's a bus decided to park there, and the pushback truck actually goes straight through it, but more important thing is it's going to latch onto our front wheel.
787 pushback ready. Please release park brakes.
Okay, so we're now, that bus is now going to move out the way. Hopefully. Yes, there he goes. One assumes he dropped some passengers to our plane, I don't know, but he's out the way now. And our plane is pushing back, and as you can see, turning through the 90 degrees so that we'll be facing the way we want to go in a second. Now when we taxi, I'm not going to follow the yellow line that X-Plane puts up exactly, because it does go some strange places straight through objects. So rather than that, I am going to follow proper taxiways. It means we will get lots of reminders keep telling us where we're supposed to be going. We know where we're supposed to be going and we will be going there, but hopefully they will stop. But they will remind us several times because I'm not following the yellow line exactly. But it's more realistic to follow real taxiways, obviously. So hopefully this pushback will finalise shortly. Should be near enough there.
787 pushback finalised.
Okay, so I'm reapplying the brakes. There's a catering truck there going to another plane somewhere. Okay, so I'm now going to go back to our 3D cockpit view, and we can now start our engines in preparation for taxi. So let's get those fired up. There we go. Once you see this coming up here, you know your engine started successfully. Okay, beautiful. So they're both started, so we can close the overhead panel down. And what I'm going to do now is request taxi.
787, hold short of runway 8 right.
Hold short of 8 right, 787.
Okay, so the next thing we need is a bit of thrust in order to be able to taxi down to the runway. So let's just put our throttles up a little, then we'll use the brakes to regulate our speed. And as I say, don't go too much by the yellow line that X-Plane puts down, because apparently the taxiways were built before the building, so it results in the taxiways not going the correct places. So I'm going to follow this taxiway. I'm going to do my best to get down to the runway by following a proper route at Gatwick. Do need to keep an eye on our speed, make sure we're not taxiing too fast. So I'm going to turn here. You can see the taxiway goes off to the left, so I'm going to follow around there. It breaks off again. I'd imagine. There we go.
7, hold short of runway 8 right.
We'll probably get that several times. It's because we're not on the yellow line. But let's not worry about that. So we're heading down here towards the correct taxiway to get to the runway they want us to use.
7, 8, 7, hold short of runway 8 right.
Hold short of 8 right. 7, 8, 7.
So that yellow line, once we get down here to the taxiway, it should come into the right place for us, and then we can follow it. So it's a bit further down here.
There 8, 7, hold short of runway 8 right.
Hold short of 8 right. 7, 8, 7.
So now we've got this far, this yellow line now is going to go down the taxiway, so we can follow it now. Should hopefully stop those reminders from air traffic control of where we're supposed to be going. So we'll just turn around here, and you can see it now goes straight down this taxiway. Now Gatwick does have 2 runways. You can see one to my left, and then the one we want is beyond that. That runway to my left, which would be 08 left from the end we're going to, is not used as a runway. It's actually used as a taxiway in normal operations. So basically Gatwick runs as a single runway airport, and we are going to 08 right. We'll go past that runway, which they use, as I say, as a taxiway. So you might see cars on roads and possibly some trains on the railway tracks when we get going, while we're climbing and when we're descending at the other end. I've set the weather to a clear day, so I've not got real weather turned on for the purposes of this demonstration of this plug-in, but you can have real weather if you wish. But I've set it on a nice clear day so that we can see the scenery and everything as we go. Might be worth just taking a quick look outside. If I go to linear spot, that will follow us as we taxi. So that's us, British Airways 787 Dreamliner. Beautiful aeroplane. So let's go back inside, and you can see we're getting down to the runway now, so we're not far away. You can see some traffic in the background on the road there. Sometimes you see airport buses which go between the terminal and the car parks. You park your car at Gatwick in one of the car parks, and there's a shuttle bus service which takes you to the terminal. There's a special train service called the Gatwick Express which runs to Gatwick. And if you go to Heathrow, you can that actually has its own London Underground station. So from a station like, say, King's Cross, you can get the Underground and it will take you straight to Heathrow, which is pretty good if you go by train. So here we go. We're coming to that first runway now, which we'll go straight past. And you'll see once we get across here that the yellow line comes to an end shortly, and when it does, that's where we need to brake, and we should get instructions to contact tower. So I'm using my Cytec ProFlight yoke, radio panel and multi-panel. It's basically autopilot panel. So that's the reason I'm not clicking on the screen to enable the brakes. I'm doing it with a button on my yoke, which just makes life a little bit easier.
787, contact tower on 124.22.
Okay, so there's the tower frequency, so we'll read that back.
Contact tower on 124.22787.
I'm now going to move that box out of the way for a second while I enable the radio panel and set our frequency. 124.22. There we go. So we'll make that active, and we'll then close the radio panel and move this box back down there so it's not too much in our way. Just position these boxes. Okay, so I'm now going to check in with tower.
Tower 787.
787, runway 8 right, clear for takeoff.
Okay, so we're cleared to take off, so we'll read that back.
Runway 8 right, cleared for takeoff. 787.
Now release the brakes and move forward gently to get onto the centre line in preparation for takeoff. Now the passengers should all be seated with their seatbelts on, but to make sure we turn on the seatbelt sign. So that will make sure the cabin crew have ensured that everybody has their seatbelts on. So I'm going to put the throttles to maximum, release the brakes, and away we go. So initial heading is 080 because that's the heading of the runway. Once we get off the ground, we'll be hitting the LOC button, localizer, which actually makes the aeroplane follow the course that is in the FMS system. And it's using GPS because I put the source onto GPS a little while back. So here we are coming to the end of the runway at Gatwick now, so we're going to be taking off. We're past rotate speed, so off we go. There we are, we're off the ground. So let's enable the autopilot, the auto throttle, and that localizer to follow the flight plan. Now we can climb a bit faster than I've got it set at, so let's go to 1500 feet a minute. And you'll see on the map that it will turn to follow the red line. Now I'm going to hit this to switch this across so my co-pilot can look at the engines and so on.
787, contact center on 135.95.
Okay, contact center.
Contact center on 135.95. 787.
So you see I've already got the frequency set, so I'm going to switch that back across, close the radio panel, move this box back down, and then check in with center.
Center 787.
Put the landing gear up now.
787, echo, golf, kilo, altimeter 2992.
Echo, golf, kilo, altimeter 2992. 787.
Okay, the altimeter reading is already set at 2992.
787, echo, golf, kilo, altimeter 2992.
Echo, golf, kilo, altimeter 2992. 787.
Okay, so we've got the altimeter already set. It will stay at 2992 the whole route because we don't have real weather enabled. What I'm going to do now is go in the overhead panel, turn off the landing lights and taxi lights. Okay, close the overhead panel down again, and then we'll take a quick look outside. So you can see our undercarriage has retracted, and we're making this turn to get onto our assigned flight route according to the flight plan that we filed. And we're climbing through 3000, so I'm going to increase the rate of climb a little. Should hopefully be able to do that without too many problems. And I'm also going to start the in-flight movie.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just started the in-flight entertainment displaying on the screens located in your seat and at the front of the cabin. You will find a set of headphones to your left. You can adjust the language and volume with the controls located in your armrest.
So that gives the passengers something to watch as well whilst we're climbing. Once we reach 15,000 we'll then serve drinks and food, but we wouldn't do that whilst climbing, 'cause the cabin crew don't want to be up and down aisles with trolleys and everything whilst we're still climbing. And we certainly wouldn't take the passenger seat belts off until we reach 15,000. We'll probably be over the channel, but that's fine. They should be able to move around without any problems. We're climbing quite well. We're through 5,500 now. So I'm going to leave that climbing at that rate. I've deliberately set the speed at 275 rather than anything higher than that, because I don't want to exceed how it's rated for the 737 that it thinks we're flying, because we lose points if we exceed that. So you can see our score's now reached 82%. So since we started at 70 we had 2 points for welcoming the passengers, 5 points the takeoff was uneventful, and 5 points the passengers enjoyed the movie. Well, they haven't enjoyed it yet because they're still watching it, but once you hit the button to serve drinks, they'll say they like the drink, serve meal, they like the meal, start movie, they like the movie. So there's all points for us there. And then once we get to getting close to Paris, we will then prepare the landing and so on, and we score more points at various points along the way there. So fairly straightforward at the moment. Take a look outside. Okay, so that's us. We are over the channel now, I think. Still climbing, leaving back behind the south coast of England. And another view I particularly like is Still Spot. So there we are. So leaving that coastline behind and now heading out over the channel. So let's go back to the 3D cockpit command log. Fairly short flight to Paris, 45 minutes, something like that I think. So that should be fine. I didn't start the clock in here. I'll start it now just so it's running, but we should really have started that before we took off, so not to worry. It'll give us an idea roughly how long it was. I guess we're about 5 minutes out at the moment, so if we had 5 minutes to whatever it says, we'll know roughly what it was. So we're still climbing. We're through 10,000 now. So we're coming up on 11,000, going to 15,000. And once we're at 15,000 we'll take the seatbelt sign off, we'll serve the drinks and the meal. Otherwise they won't have time to have their drink and eat their food before we actually are preparing to touch down in Paris. As I say, still climbing. Nice that the takeoff was uneventful, so no problems there. You can lose points if you climb too fast or obviously exceed the maximum speed for a 737, because that's what it thinks we're flying, and things like that. So we haven't lost any points so far. So we're on 82%, which is the best it could possibly be at this point. We're coming up on 13,000 now, climbing steadily. Again, nice to keep the climb a nice steady climb, rather than, you know, going a bit faster vertical speed or something, which could cause problems. So we'll just leave it climbing at 2,000 feet a minute. And we're coming up on 13.5, so we're going to be at 15,000 shortly. As we get near 15,000, the vertical speed light will go off. The altitude hold light will go from yellow to green, and then the plane will level out at 15,000. So our heading still says on the autopilot 080, but that's now been overridden by the localizer setting following that flight plan that we've put into the GPS. And on the map below you can see we're bang on that red line, which is exactly where we should be. So the green light has now come on for the altitude, so we are just about at 15,000, and you can see the plane is now levelling out. So there we go, 15,000. So I'm going to bring up the overhead panel again and take the seatbelt sign off.
The captain has turned off the seatbelt sign. You may now take off your seatbelt.
There you go. And we'll serve the drinks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving drinks.
And the meal.
We are now serving our in-flight cuisine. Could you please extend your tray table and lift your seats to the upright position?
Okay, so they're extending their tray tables to put their food and drink on. So again, you've got message, they enjoyed the drink that was served, enjoyed the served food, and we're now at 92%. So that's pretty good. For some reason in this plugin I've never yet managed to get a landing which it doesn't say was a hard landing and take points off you for it. Not quite sure why that is, but maybe it's my landings. It doesn't seem that bad, but it always takes points off me for landing, so you know, so be it. Still hopefully get around about 90% with a bit of luck, which I'm fairly happy with. So we should now be level, so if we look outside you see we're now flying nice and level. So I've got buttons on my yoke to rotate the view, and also you can do it with the mouse as I was doing a moment ago with the right button held down, and you can spin around. See the French coastline in the distance, so we're going to be over France fairly soon. I do like the 787 aeroplane. I think it's a really nice plane in X-Plane. It's one of my favourites, I have to say. Quite an easy one to operate. I do like the buttons that bring down the overhead panel, radio panel, all that stuff. That's quite good. So you can see we've got a display here which says we're Boeing 787. It tells us what our radio frequency is, which is currently 13595 per centre, and our transponder, which is 4700 as they requested. Obviously important to get your transponder set. That's how air traffic control follow your flight. Without the transponder they wouldn't really have any idea where you are. So absolutely vital that the transponder is set and set to the correct frequency. So we're now fast approaching Drake on the map.
787 Echo Golf Kilo Alpha Altimeter 2992.
Echo, Golf, Kilo, Alpha, altimeter 2992, 787.
So we're now turning left. As you can see, the Drake to SciTech section is coming up. That's a very short section of the flight plan. And then once we reach SciTech, we'll turn slightly right, I think, to head towards Deauville. If you get air traffic control constantly saying you're off course, you're off course, you're off course, that's probably because you are, and you need to make sure you're following the red line exactly, not flying parallel to it. If you're flying parallel to it, they will keep telling you you're off course, off course, off course, which gets to be extremely annoying. So just make sure that you are actually on that red line on the map. So I'm going to menu up on here because we don't need the in-flight stuff anymore. We will need landing, so I'm going to get that ready. So the first thing is descent. So when we get closer to Paris, we will begin our descent when instructed by air traffic control, and we will then advise the passengers that we are descending towards our destination. So here's the turn from SciTech going to Deauville. That's nice. So what we now need to do, just have a quick look at the local map, just so you can see where we've gone. So that's us. So that's our flight out of Gatwick so far. And I don't think we'll see Paris as yet. I think we're too far away to see the Paris airport on the display at the moment, so we'll check that a bit later. We will need, once we get close to Charles de Gaulle, to get the ILS frequency for the instrument landing system, which then makes the plane basically line up on the runway and also engage on the glide slope and take us nicely down to the runway. So you can see X-Plane is redrawing the scenery in the distance. I have got the scenery set on quite a short setting. You can set it to draw more in advance, so to speak, depending on the power of your graphics processing unit. I mean, I probably could go to draw more at one go, but at least you can see how X-Plane continually keeps redrawing the scenery. So all the time you're flying along, X-Plane is loading the next part of scenery and drawing that for you before you actually reach it. So, and in some ways you get a better view of the scenery from outside. So you can see there the scenery that has been drawn, and it will continue to do so as we continue towards Paris. If you need to adjust graphic settings, if you get crashes, the program keeps crashing, it's usually down to graphics. It is very graphic intensive with all this scenery it draws. So you can go to the settings menu, and in settings you'll find rendering options, and in there you can adjust near enough everything and sort of dial down some of the graphic settings, and you'll be much better off, hopefully, and that should stop X-Plane crashing. Depends a lot on what video card you've got. When I bought this computer, I searched the forums in X-Plane for advice, and the advice was, don't worry too much about the processor being, the CPU being the best available. Worry more about having good video graphics. So the central processor is a i5 with 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I've got an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 770 video card in there, which I believe has got 4 gigabytes of VRAM on it, I think. So that is clearly capable of running the simulator, and could run it at probably slightly higher rendering options than I've got it set on. It's quite frustrating when you keep getting crashes because of issues with graphics or whatever, so I generally sort of keep them dialed down a bit, so make sure I don't get any issues whilst flying. So if we take a look at this screen just to our left, just below the XPassenger box, you can see D'Urville is our next waypoint. We're 5 minutes from it, 30 miles out. So just gone below 30 nautical miles. So hopefully we should be reaching D'Urville in something like 5 minutes. And around about when we reach D'Urville, either shortly before or shortly after, we'll actually get instructions from air traffic controllers which way they want us to go anyway. So at that point we'll override the flight plan and follow their instructions. In preparation for that, what I'm going to do is set our heading, if I can. There we go. I'm going to set the heading to where we're flying currently, so that it's set on the same heading that we're actually flying in the flight plan, and then we can fairly easily adjust it for whatever air traffic control tell us to do. So we're over France now. Certainly all seems well. So we're flying heading 165, that's on our flight plan. We're at 15,000 feet and 275 IAS, indicated airspeed. As I said, the weather is set on a nice clear calm day, and in fact outside my window it is actually a nice sunny calm day. So even though I'm technically not following real weather, I don't know what the weather is over France, but looking out my window in sunny Lincolnshire coast, it is sunny today. Very nice day. A bit cold last night, bit of a frost, but very pleasant now. No wind. So not much different to how X-Plane is actually giving us the weather anyway, so even if I had it on real weather it probably wouldn't be that much different. So since I started the clock, it's on about 13 minutes, and I reckon there was about 5 minutes prior to that, so we're probably on a total of about 18 minutes so far. So not a terribly long flight. At this point the pilot and co-pilot do not have a lot to do except keep an eye on things and make sure everything is as expected. So that's the co-pilot station. So I've changed it over so that he can look at the ailerons and engines, all that sort of stuff, and all I've got to worry about is the main map screen and the artificial horizon, so therefore less for the pilot to be concerned about. So just check how far from Derville we are now. We are 2 minutes out with 9 miles, so we're very shortly going to be reaching Derville. You can see it on the map, 12 o'clock just below the top of the map there. You can see DVL hopefully. Our course goes straight through that, and then we turn quite sharply left to head towards Paris Charles de Gaulle, and that's around the sort of time when we might get instructions.
787 Lima, Foxtrot, Romeo, Golf, altimeter 2992.
Lima, Foxtrot, Romeo, Golf, altimeter 2992, 787.
So Lima, Foxtrot, Romeo, Golf is another French airport. We know it's French because it begins LF. Any airport that begins with Lima, Foxtrot will be a French airport. Any airport ICAO code that begins with Echo Golf, EG, is a UK one. Spain is LE, Lima Echo, L'Espagne, and so on. Germany I think is ED, and Holland is EH, as in Schiphol is Echo Hotel Alpha Mike. So we're now making that turn from Derville and heading towards Paris Charles de Gaulle, which is apparently 91 miles away, 16 minutes. So total flight time, well, because we'll get routed by air traffic control, it'll probably be near 20 minutes to be honest, so 35 plus 5 I missed at the beginning, probably about 40 minutes, 45 minutes flight. And I haven't pushed the speed too much, I've left it on 275 because I didn't want to risk exceeding what the XPassenger plug-in thinks is the speed for a 737, because then it will take a load of points off me, even though I'm not actually flying a 737. So 90 miles out I think might still be too far for us to see Paris Charles de Gaulle on here. You can see there's the Derville Vaux that we've just come past. Obviously Charles de Gaulle is going to be over here somewhere. Yeah, I think we're still too far out to see it at the moment, so we'll get a bit closer, and hopefully the first instruction from air traffic control will tell us which runway we're going to be using, and we can then have a look and see what the ILS frequency for that runway is, put that in our nav1 frequency on the radio and set the autopilot source to nav1, and then we should automatically fly to the runway. A little way away yet, but hopefully won't be too much longer. So we're still on 92% score at the moment, which is good. That's where we want it to be. That's the maximum it could be at this point. As I say, it doesn't seem to like my landings and always knocks some points off me because it says that was a hard landing, which actually I don't think it is, but there you go. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just not great at landing in X-plane. I'm not a real world pilot, so, you know, at the end of the day, being that we're on the glide slope and, you know, using ILS to land, I would have thought it would be okay, but it never seems to like it very much. So we are now 79 miles out, so 10 miles just went by there. So not too long before we'll be preparing to head to Charles de Gaulle and probably descending when we need to start using XPassenger to advise the passengers that we are in fact descending. And we'll put their seatbelts on again for the descent. So 300 passengers on our 787 today, going to Paris. So XPassenger is not perfect. I mean, it does talk about Qantas 737 and so on, but it does add a little bit more to the simulation and does give you a score. It is a free plugin. You just go to www.x-plane.org, sign up free for the forums, and you can download it from there. And you just, once downloaded, you just unzip it. I think it's a zip file. Well, it could be an XE install file, but I think it's a zip. But you basically just put the plugin into the X-Plane resources folder in plugins. So there's a subfolder under resources called plugins, and you just pop it in there with any other plugins you got, and it should then work. So in terms of plugins, I've got a few. Python interface is needed for the ground services. XPassenger we know. XITech panels drives my radio panel and multi-panel, and X-Squawk box is for flying on VATSIM. So if you want to fly online with real controllers when they're online, so you're not using X-Plane's air traffic control, you've got real people who give up their time to provide air traffic control for us to fly, which is pretty amazing. It doesn't cost anything to fly on VATSIM, and it does add even more realism to the experience of flying on X-Plane. Highly recommended. I suppose the only issue is sometimes there are not many controllers online, but you can train to be a controller yourself, which would help out, I'm sure. I'm sure they're always looking for more people to be controllers. So we are now 11 minutes away from Paris Charles de Gaulle and about 60 miles out. So it's a bit longer than I thought to get the air traffic control instructions after Deauville. I think we'll start getting instructions at about 30 miles out, so a little way to go yet. And as I say, hopefully they'll tell us in the first instruction which runway we're using, and we can then look up the ILS frequency on the local map. You can of course Google it. I should say also I've got a tablet computer, an Android tablet computer, which is running a free app that I downloaded from the App Store. I just searched X-Plane and it's called Moving Map, and it does exactly that. It gives you a graphic of your plane flying across Google Maps, so you can see exactly where in the world you are. So that's quite a nice thing to have as well. It's very easy to set up.
787, descend and maintain 1,000.
Okay, so
Down to 1,000. 787.
They will remind us about that.
787, descend and maintain 1000.
Down to 1000, 787.
I don't know why they repeat it so quickly. There's no way you could have dialed in the altitude in that time. Okay, so I'm going to set vertical speed on. I'm going to set our vertical speed to -1000. And I'm going to bring up the overhead panel and put the seatbelts on.
787, descend and maintain 1000.
Please return
Down to 1000, 787.
So there was a cabin crew announcement to the passengers there to put their seatbelts on, but we couldn't really hear it because of air traffic control conversation. But maybe they don't think we're descending quite fast enough, so I'll put it at -1500, so we're going down at 1500 feet a minute. You see the throttles are backed off because it's maintaining 275, and whilst we're descending, obviously as you descend you go faster. So I'm now going to hit the descent button on here to advise the passengers we are now descending.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we are descending to our destination, we ask that you switch off all electronic devices and return your seats and tray tables to their upright and stowed position.
So there you go. So they've been advised that we're descending down towards our destination now. The next thing, once we have landing instructions and everything, will be to prepare them for the landing. And then we have after landing whilst taxiing, and then finally at the gate when we've arrived. So I'm not sure how far out we are now. We're 8 minutes, 45 miles out. So we might get a heading from air traffic control fairly soon to vector us into the runway, I would think. So it's usually around about 30 miles from the airport. Experience of other airports, it's usually been around about that.
787, Lima, Foxtrot, Oscar, Papa, altimeter 2992.
Lima, Foxtrot, Oscar, Papa, altimeter 2992, 787.
So again, 2992, it stayed at that runway.
787, descend and maintain 7000.
Okay,
Down to 7000, 787.
so we're going down to 7,000 now. So we'll continue this gentle descent down towards 7,000. So the altimeter reading has stayed on 2992 because we don't have real weather. We've got constant weather, so it's not going to change. If you were flying real weather and you needed to adjust that, you do it with this switch here. So that's gone to 2993, 2992. So that would be how you adjust it if you need to. So our descent now is down to 7,000, so we are getting pretty much ready to descend into Paris Charles de Gaulle, I think. Once we get ILS frequency, I'll also put the landing gear down, reduce our speed a bit, and so on. I'm just going to set the auto brakes ready to apply once we land. We shouldn't have any problems stopping. It's a fairly long runway at Paris Charles de Gaulle. You can see we're coming off a fairly major city below us now. Instead of just the green of the fields, you can see the slightly browner colour, which is all the buildings. So I don't think that's Paris, but we're pretty close. Just have a look at the local map and see if it's appeared on there yet. Yep, there's Charles de Gaulle there. So that's where we're headed. So we'll zoom in a bit in preparation for them telling us which runway they wish us to use. Though I suspect it's going to be 09. So it could well be that one. That's 09 left, that's 09 right. So I suspect 09 right. but we'll see. But what I will do is set the nav1 frequency to 110.1 in anticipation that we're going to be using 9 right. That may prove to be incorrect and we may have to reset it, but we'll see. From experience before, I think most of the time I've landed on 9 right at Paris. So we're coming down towards 7,000 now. It's passed through 8,500.
787, fly heading 090. Vectors for the visual, runway 8 left. Descend and maintain 5,000.
Okay, so
Heading 090. Vectors for the visual, runway 8 left. Down to 5,000. 787.
so I'm going to put our altitude down to 5,000. So that should continue the descent. We need to set our heading to 090. So program that in and then hit that button there. We will now reduce our speed to 250. Okay, we'll prepare the passengers for the landing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to land. Please remain seated until the captain switches off the fasten seatbelt sign.
Okay, so overhead panel, put the landing lights on. Okay, so that's all okay from what I can see. So I'm going to put the undercarriage down as well. If we look outside, you see the undercarriage coming down, so the undercarriage does work. So you get the wheels coming down and locking into place. Looks fine. So we're going to reduce our speed a little bit further in preparation for going down to about 150 for landing. I think that's about right for the 787. So we're almost down to 5,000 feet now, which is what they asked us to maintain. So the vertical speed light has gone off, the altitude light has gone green, and we should level at 5,000 feet. And there we go, we're at 5,000. Near enough. Okay, 5,000, so that should be fine. We're levelled out at 5,000. I didn't notice which runway they said we were going in on, but I'll leave it programmed to 09 right for now. See if they perhaps remind us in a little while. If not, once we get very close to the airport, the tower will confirm we're clear to land.
787, fly heading 170. Descend and maintain 2,000.
Heading 170. Down to 2,000. 787.
So actually said 08 left was the runway they want us to use.
787, descend and maintain 2,000.
Down to 2,000. 787.
So I'm just going to get us descending to 2,000. And then I'm going to check the local map for the ILS frequency for 08 left. So Paris Yellow de Gaulle. Okay, so 08 left is there. I'm zooming in a bit. Bit of an awkward one to see. 108.7 it looks like. Yep, 108.7. 08 left.
787, descend and maintain 2,000.
Down to
We're on our way down to
2,000.
2,000.
787.
Okay, so 108.7 I said. So nav 1, we'll use that one because that's reasonably close to it. Okay, make that active. We'll change our autopilot source to nav 1 in preparation for the approach into Paris Charles de Gaulle. Can turn the radio panel off now.
787, fly heading 110.
Heading 110. 787.
So we've prepared the passengers for the landing. So after landing will be the next instruction we need to give them. And we're turning to 110. Going to reduce the speed a little bit more now. Go down to 180. Oh, maybe 200 for now, 180 in a minute. So everything's looking good. Can't actually see the airfield as yet, but we should see it fairly soon.
787, fly heading 080. Report the field in sight.
Heading 080. We'll call the field. 787.
Okay, so let's see if we can see the airfield. I think it was there. Did I see it there? Yep, that looks like it there.
Center. 787.
787, contact tower on 118.65.
Contact tower on 118.65. 787.
So I'll just hit the approach button to get us on the way to the ILS, and I'm going to just set our frequency to 118.65 and check in with the tower.
Tower. 787.
So those tones just indicated that we have picked up the ILS and we're descending, so it looks like we're on the glide slope. There are 2 yellow and 2 reds on the vases, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to slow our speed now to about 160. Okay, so that all looks good so far.
787, runway 8 left, clear to land.
So we have
Runway
landing
8
clearance.
left. Cleared to land. 787.
So this is our runway here by the look of it. And we're descending. Speed down to 150. Speed is reducing, but not really as quickly as I'd like it, to be honest. So I haven't put the flaps on, so I need to do that. Full flaps for landing. That seems to be descending far too fast. No, we're okay, I think. We're okay. So we should hear the back wheels touch down in a second.
100. 54 to 20, return. That was a rough landing.
There you go, usual hard landing message. I think that one was pretty hard, to be fair. I'm trying to get the engines to go into reverse. I don't seem to want to. That's it. Should help us to slow down. Auto throttle is off. Okay, put them back. And we're going to vacate to the left here.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop and the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign.
Okay, so that's just telling them to remain
787.
until we turn off the sign. So
787. Contact ground on 121.907.
Contact ground on 121.907. 787.
Okay, so radio panel again. Move that across 121.907. There we go. Checking with ground.
Ground 787.
Okay, we should now also put our taxi lights on. And we'll try and follow the yellow line. Another plane taxiing out to the runway there by the look of it. It looked like it wanted us to go all the way around to the left here, which didn't give us much chance to do, to be fair. So let's just put the power on a bit and try and make this turn round to the left. It might be on the grass, so I'll go this way. Don't want to be going across the grass too much, so let's get out here and we'll make the left turn around this one and hopefully pick up the yellow line again. We can use the brakes to regulate our speed. Looks like we're heading for a gate over there somewhere. Hope they've given us a gate and not just a parking area. Sometimes you do just get a concrete parking area and then wait for the bus to come out to convey the passengers. Okay, that's fine. So our score is on 76%, so we lost 10 for the landing, but the G-force experience by the passengers were too high. Not sure about that, because surely that would be down to the glide slope, but not to worry, such is life. So let's head off here and see if we can find this gate they want us at. Go. So we're heading down this taxiway. You can see the yellow line in front of me, so we'll soon pick that up again. We can put the flaps back up now. Quite a large airport shoulder goal, so we could be taxiing for a little while. Probably not as far as Schiphol, because if you land on some of the runways at Schiphol you have a really long taxi. But I think we're probably heading to the right at the end here. And I'd imagine it's going to be one of the gates over there. I'm hoping so. So basically that's giving you an idea of XPassenger. Once we reach the gate we'll play the very last part, the at gate, and then that will be the end of that. But I hope it's given you an introduction to the XPassenger plugin and what it does. Adds a little bit more realism, I think. And it's free, so I think there is another one called XPassenger, which might possibly be better. I haven't tried it yet. It's about €9, so it's hardly expensive. Now what's this guy doing sitting here? You can't sit there, mate. Well, that's a bit strange, but there you go. I'm following the yellow line they've told us to follow, and he sat right in the middle of the taxiway, so very strange, but there you go. So we'll head down here. And we're not far from where we need to turn, so it looks like we're turning right here. So I get the speed down, make sure we can safely get round this turn. You know, follow the taxiway round there. and we're heading over this way. It's quite a long taxi we've got here. I've known shorter ones than this at Paris Charles de Gaulle, I've got to say. I'm not sure quite how X-Plane assigns the gates. I don't know if it's random or what, but we are following the taxiway anyway, and hopefully we'll come up on the gate they've assigned us pretty soon. A number of airplanes in front of us, so we could well be approaching the gates now. So I hope so. We'll be there fairly soon. And so they may just have given us a parking area rather than an actual gate. If that's the case, the passengers are taken off by bus to get them to the terminal. I think it'd be nice if we had an actual gate. But I don't think we do, because it looks like we're going right down here. Well, maybe not. No, maybe we might be alright. Let's see. Trying to see where that line goes. I think actually it goes left. It looked like it was going right for a second, but I think it goes left. So that could well be to the gates. Let's see. So we need to turn here. So there you go. We're only doing about 10 miles an hour. Oh, we're up to 20 now, so I'll just slow down again. Right, okay, so we're going in here. Okay, so now the yellow line seems to go straight through an aeroplane, so we'll go this way. I was hoping that was our gate, but it looks like it's not, so we need to go down here. We've got a fuel tanker reversing in front of us. I don't know why he doesn't turn around and go forwards, but there you go. So the yellow line is going to the right again, I can see in front of me. So that appears to be away from those gates, so let's see where they're sending us. This has been a remarkably long taxi from Paris Charles de Gaulle, I've got to say. Ah, now there are gates here, so just avoid that truck going across. Buses in the wall, another plane there. Bus in the background, and I assume, perhaps incorrectly, this is our gate, but no, it looks like we're... Oh, it comes to an end here, so this is the gate here by the look of it. So I will pull up here. Okay, so I'll hit the gate.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at our destination. For those passengers departing here, we would like to thank you for flying Qantas. For those passengers with connecting flights with Qantas, Jetstar, another airline, or any of our One World airline partners, the cabin crew will be able to assist you with any information. Thank you for flying Qantas. We hope you have enjoyed your flight.
So you can see now we've reached the gate. I'm shutting everything down. So we'll be cold and dark again, and that basically is our flight complete. So I hope that's given you some idea of the XPassenger plug-in. We scored 78%, which I suppose is not too bad. At the start at 17, we got it up to 78, so I'll live with that. So see you next time, guys. Take care. Bye now.